And we are back with another episode of the Hockey Princess podcast. I am your host, the Hockey Princess. Without my tiara, guys, 1 second. There we go. Now everything is right in the world. We've got Crusty Old Guy once again. Folks, just as a reminder, make sure to hit that like and subscribe on either Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, YouTube, however you watch or listen to us ramble on a weekly basis. You are going to Friday night's game or really any of the rest of the home games. One, good for you because it's a struggle right now. And two, highly recommend Su Taqueria El Rey del Taco over on Ogden. The food is great, the people are great, and it's only a couple of blocks away from the United Center. Christy, we have NHL hockey once again. We are back.
Hooray!
Hooray.
Hooray!
Hooray. Big harum hooray. With that, we have the trade deadline coming up, which we talked about a little bit last week, but it is looming over our heads. I will say to anyone who does listen, whether you are a Chicago fan or not, I hope that the trade deadline is kind to you and your favorite fourth liner stays exactly where they are.
Yep, it's usually a rough day. I don't think it'll be that rough, but I would assume there's still players that are going to be moved.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be no different than years past, where it's not going to be nearly the number everybody's thinking.
Yeah. I mean, as a chaos junkie, I'm hoping for some chaos with trade deadline. I'm hoping for some chaos that does not involve our team. Um, Aside from the pieces that we kind of already figured may be going in trade deadline, segueing to one of the bigger pieces that has already kind of come out with this week of trade deadline. Connor Murphy, you are an Edmonton Oiler. We kind of figured that he would go if he wanted to go. He's been a great piece for the Blackhawks back end for the past 9 years. And before he came to Chicago, he was playing in Arizona. So I'm not the biggest Edmonton fan. We know this. But I'm happy to see Connor Murphy get the potential for some playoff hockey. Hearing kind of the flip side from Edmonton fans or people that, are on the Edmonton side, this seems like a very good pickup for them as well. He will be excellent, on the back end, especially for their PK, because I think the problem is some of their top defensemen are more offensively skilled than defensively skilled. And so to pick up a guy that isn't a huge risk in terms of like overall player and can be an asset defensively, I think is also huge for Edmonton.
Oh, no doubt about it. Number one, he comes with a I forget what the word is, a briefcase full of babysitting tools that he has learned over the years here. And he needs to go bring those tools to Edmonton, because there isn't a player that doesn't need to be babysat. Darnell Nurse struggles. He needs to be babysat. Bouchard, we all know he needs to be babysat, and Wallman's not really that much different. A perfect pickup, if you ask me, for the Edmonton Oilers. You're talking about the highest minute penalty killer on this Blackhawk team, who happens to also own the top penalty kill in the league. So automatically he becomes their best penalty killer also.
Yeah.
I've heard little things that this was a steal for the Hawks to get a second rounder. Well, not really.
But it's a second rounder in 2 years.
Yeah, but it's one of the better. It's probably the best defensive defenseman left.
Yeah.
You look at Saucy, who went to the Islanders for a third, and that was nothing retained. And Murphy's a better player.
Right.
So he retained. It's about fair market value. Poor Connor, thought he was coming into a better situation. He will at times always be remembered as the first crumble of the dynasty era. Just, the trade of Hjalmarsson out and Connor Murphy in and the starting of the fighting between Stan Bowman and Joe Quenneville. But he has been a trooper. And at the end of the day, his biggest problem, I'm knocking on a metal table, but has been staying healthy, and he's been healthy all year.
Right.
So it's great. As long as his health is there, it's a great pickup.
Yeah.
I'm glad he'll get some playoff hockey also.
Yeah.
So.
That was it, and I even texted you last night. Like, it was very weird to watch a game without Connor Murphy. Because even there were times where he was hurt, you knew he was hurt, but it's been 9 years of Connor Murphy's always just been there.
Yeah, and I'm sure the stories will come out and you'll understand the unsung hero of just the way to teach all of these young defensemen how to be a pro.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the constant you hear. He's a pro's pro.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the name of the game. You show up, you do your job, and you get better. And so, good for him.
Yeah, very good for him. Other one that came out this morning is Tyler Myers down to Dallas. That's kind of really been it that I've heard. I think there will be more, moves obviously happening up until Friday at 3 o'clock. But we're recording this the day before we drop it. So if there's things that have happened Wednesday night, we just don't have a time machine and we don't know it yet. But I think there's just a lot of heavy speculation right now. I think you'll see more activity Thursday and then obviously Friday. As a reminder to folks, if this is your first year getting into hockey and you are new to the concept of the trade deadline, one, I envy you for not having, 15 plus years of a grudge against the trade deadline like I do. But the paperwork has to be sent in by 3. You may still be hearing things after 3 o'clock. That is normal. But it's just things have to be filed by a certain point. Don't get off of Twitter after 3 o'clock because there still might be, stuff that drops.
Correct. And, there's always stuff that comes in later because as long as the trade is sent out, they still have to finalize details, but those don't have to be released, and they won't release anything until that's basically
done,
finalized. But there's always insiders who are able to get the story, and I'm sure you'll be tricked a couple times.
Yes, guys, be very careful when looking. There are a lot of Elliot Friedman spoof handles in the Twitter world. Of course, there are other insiders, but I just have the rule of thumb of if it's not coming from Elliot Friedman, I'm going to question it until I need to hear from 4 other insiders or hear it from Elliot Friedman.
Yeah, that's kind of the way I roll with that too. He's got his ear pretty well on there. And then the only other trade that we had was McCarron from Nashville to the Wild. Basically, the Wild getting ready for playoff hockey. A big, physical, nasty player who's going to be playing nasty. Yes.
One that, everybody really likes to stir up rumors. This is the week of rumors, guys. I mean,
yes,
every week is rumors. But, there's been the constant talk in Florida, not only of just shutting people down because they really want that top 10 pick or whatever, because they're not doing well and they've been playing a ton of hockey. But then the other chat has been, do you trade Bob? Do you get rid of Bob? The Florida Panthers have just signed another goaltender this morning. Does that mean that Bob is on his way out? At least for the time being of a quick release. Because that's the thing, folks, is I believe Bob is an unrestricted free agent come summer so Florida can release Bob to pick a team, Montreal Canadiens, that needs goaltending, and then Bob can come right back. We've done that, not as much, but that can definitely be a thing that happens. But they've re-signed, or not re-signed, they've signed a not defenseman, goaltender. And so it just makes me even more curious of, is Bob out?
Yeah, it makes me curious too, and I don't know why I'm getting drizzled on. This is very upsetting to me. They lost again last night, right?
So did we.
But they're like 11 or 12. They're not making the playoffs. I am under the impression also that, yeah, everybody just starts to shut down. They'll have to deal with the jokes of waving the white flag. Bob has not come out and said this is something he wants to do.
Right.
You're still talking about going someplace different. You've got to pack up and move someplace else. I still think he's in their plans for the next 3 years also.
Right.
So it would just be a complete rental.
Right.
If you ask me, I know he loves it down in South Florida. He's not signing anywhere else. I would be shocked if he did. So
no, but if he does a quick rental, it can't be unappealing to Bob for more playoff hockey.
No, it can't be.
Depending on the team.
He likes the workload. So, again, you're not getting more than a second rounder, but I am sure Florida needs picks.
Right.
So this is the time that you do it. So it would not shock me. I still don't think it'll happen just because you've won back-to-back Stanley Cups. Do you really want to uproot everything for another 2.5 months? I think it's a lot. There's a lot that goes to it. It's not just and you're done. New place to live, new staff,
right.
New training people, new goaltender coach. But, if you're the Edmonton Oilers,
the competitive side,
right? But if you're the Edmonton Oilers, I easily give up a second rounder for the Bob. And
right.
You basically figure if he gets his game back, which he hasn't had this year, but if he does, he should have won goaltender. So
exactly.
There's interest, that's for sure.
I mean, I can see from do you really want to uproot everything for a couple of months? I think I also just see from the competitive standpoint, you are the only one on your team that could be a rental for a 3-peat, for the potential of a 3-peat. That's got to be a little enticing.
Yes. Yeah. Again, now we start talking about the mindset of these winning athletes, and
we don't know.
I got nothing for you there. I got nothing. But yes, you bring up a good point. Competitors want to compete.
Right.
All the time. So,
yeah.
Okay.
So that was the big, rumor mill with the Florida goaltending signing. There's another point that I did want to bring up because we did have an announcement coming out of Dallas that Tyler Seguin is shut down for the year, completely for the year. And this brings up the point that, folks, the LTIR situation is going to be different than in years past. In years past, they've been able to do the Mark Stone fluke, which is no longer allowed, which is essentially you can have somebody on LTIR, bring in players, and then when they come back, the cap doesn't really exist in the playoffs, and you can kind of be over. But you can't be over in the postseason. So you can't just use their money and just add more. But this is different than the Dallas ruling because, if Tyler Seguin is out, there's no him coming back. So the Dallas Stars are well within their ability to sign a player kind of till however Dallas go or however far Dallas goes in the postseason, using Tyler Sagan's money, basically, or using that number. They can use it because Tyler Sagan isn't coming back at any point. You can't use it if you've got somebody on LTIR for now, but you're expecting that, they may pop back in like the first round.
Correct. You are allowed to use a portion of it. I believe Tyler Sagan's amount was a little under 3 million that you were allowed to use and not declare him out for the playoffs.
Right.
But you don't get to use, as you pointed out, the full amount unless you call them completely out for the playoffs,
Right.
which they have done. So even with using like the 3 million, there's a possibility of teams being over. The other thing that was implemented is your roster that you're trotting out for a game has to be cap compliant, which it never used to be. That doesn't mean that they could still be over the cap, but they can't dress over the cap. So it's done a good job of not making it so blatantly obvious.
We've eliminated the Mark Stone problem.
Yes.
Plain and simple, which is great.
And then maybe next year we can eliminate the Kyle Davidson problem as far as the cap is concerned. And, you can't sit there and count people against the cap who haven't played for 5 years. But that's a different topic for a different show.
That is a different topic. But I did want to bring that up just because I think that will affect some teams going into the trade deadline and being able to pick up people not only from like Dallas's perspective where, they have a little bit more money or a little bit more room now with Sagan fully being shut down, but you're also going to have teams who, I want to say, have consistently bent the rule in years prior that are probably not going to be able to have so much action come trade deadline.
Correct. And, it's a good chunk of change for Dallas.
Yeah.
So I would assume they are not done.
No.
So it'll be interesting to see what they do.
They need to re-sign Robo so they can stop putting him on the trade block, or just give him here. Just send him up to Chicago.
Well, everything that I've heard is that's why Dallas will not be taking on term. So that means just a rental because they have, they can't take on somebody within still 3 more years because they need the Jason Robertson
And give him all the money.
And I guarantee if Tyler Sagan is unable to play next year, he will be your newest Chicago Blackhawk.
Sagan?
Yes. Because that'll be $9 million they can count to get to the cap floor. So, yeah, we'll have Ellis and Tyler Sagan making like $15 million a year that we can count. Because that's what we do here.
Oh my God. Christy, are we Buffalo?
Well, Buffalo's pretty good right now, so I'd like to be Buffalo. We have to decide which Buffalo. No, I don't think we're Buffalo.
But it is sad.
It's bad. At the end of the day, this is the worst stretch of Blackhawk hockey I've ever witnessed. So,
And
that's just a fact.
Because we've seen some bad early 2000s stuff. But before we get to the big club.
Okay, way to derail me. Put me back on track.
Yeah, we got some prospect reports.
Okay.
We've got 3 assists for Jack Pridham out of the Kitchener Rangers, 1 goal for Merrick Vanaker with the Brantford Bulldogs, 2 goals and 3 assists for AJ Spellacy with the Windsor Spitfires, 1 goal and 2 assists for Vaclavna Strassel out of UMass, 1 goal each for Julia Sumpf and John Mustard out of Providence College. Providence College, I believe, has claimed top seed for postseason. They're having one heck of a run this season, so it will be interesting to see both Mustard and Sumpf. More Mustard because I think it's potentially he could jump to Rockford with Sasha next year, so it'll be exciting to see him get some college playoff hockey. Roman Kansaroff, you are at 61 points in 58 games in the KHL. Mason West, you got 18 points in 26 games with the USHL, and then 1 goal for Anton Frundell this past week. And we have some news this morning, an excellent article by one of our favorite writers, Mr. Ben Pope, basically confirming that Sasha is making the jump over at the end of Boston University's year, which should be soon-ish, just because they haven't had that great of a year. But it is pretty much confirmed that Sasha will be making the jump over. Very, very exciting. There was a little bit of chatter of, it's kind of weird that they're already reporting on this early. Well, some teams don't have as great of a writer as Ben Pope, because this is not the first time that Ben Pope has reported of college players making the jump prior to the end of their season. So to those crusty people, I just say you're a little jealous that you're not as cool as Ben.
Yeah, we're all big fans of Ben. Is there any truth to the rumor that there's been reports about Mustard doing a lot of hot dogging?
I'm ignoring you.
Everybody else does. I don't see why you'd be any different.
So, yeah, that's the big one that came out this morning or yesterday. I read it this morning. That Sasha's making the jump over. I would assume just because there really doesn't seem to be a lot of space for these young kids coming up to Chicago. Thanks, Kyle. That Sasha will be taking role in Rockford, kind of doing similar to what, like your Tage Harding and some other kids did last year, where you're going to make the jump over. You might dress, you might be just watching things from the press box. I'm pretty sure we're not really going to have postseason for Rockford, which is sad. But he's going to come over. There's going to be a lot of watching. And then I would imagine he gets number 1C or number 2C for Rockford at the beginning of the season next year.
Yeah, some of that will depend on what happens with Mickey Mouse and the Dick in the next day or two. If they both go, I believe he will be up with the big club at least for a cup of coffee. Because if I know anything about this organization, they like to show off and talk about their shiny new things. And the amount of talk you will hear about this man's boxing career and how he's our new enforcer will be incredible. Everybody will write about it. Everybody will talk about it. You'll hear about it most of the game that he plays. Whether that means anything, probably not, but there is some truth to the fact that, yeah, that's the one guy you're hoping people will answer to in the years following.
I would be very excited not to listen to the fluff pieces being circulated, because those drive me absolutely nuts, but I'm all for, I'd rather watch the young kids. If I'm going to watch less than desirable hockey, I'd rather watch the young kids play than anything else.
Yes.
But I still do think he starts in Rockford at the beginning of next year.
Yeah, oh, yes. Yes. I don't... Again, who knows? That he fills a void that they don't have, and they were expecting Colton to step up a little bit more than he has with it. So,
in terms of enforcer, I don't think that was ever Colton's game.
Right, but that's the niche that you need filled, especially when you're talking a third or fourth liner and a bigger forward. You need somebody that scares somebody else to not take liberties all the time.
Yeah, can we get that from one of our football players?
Well, you might. Did Spellacy play football too?
Yes.
You're not gonna get it from Mason West. I can tell you that.
Spellacy played football. He played both.
So yes, he's another one that we'll be bringing that. It's all going to take time.
Yeah.
So.
But that's all I've got for prospects. A little bit from Rockford. I'm going to be honest, it's not great down there as we've talked, so I don't want to stick too much on the negatives. But you do have EDM and Korchinski both up with the big club right now. Um, Savvy, because the world hates me, apparently. Savvy's out 1 to 2 weeks with a lower body injury, so we'll see what happens. They didn't specify what. I don't think it came out of, there wasn't like a big accident during a particular game, to my knowledge, that caused the injury, but he is out with a lower body for 1 to 2 weeks. Um, so hope it's nothing bad. He does have lower body history with injuries, so hopefully everything is a-okay. But there goes my dream of him getting called up at the trade deadline.
Yes, probably. But you never know. Again, he would be another shiny new piece that you can write a lot of fluff about. He brings an entertainment value to the game, that's for sure.
I need to be entertained.
Yes. When you're watching bad hockey, entertainment is good.
Yeah. That's all I have on the prospects and younger kids. Christy, do you want to talk about the big club?
Talk about the big club?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't we?
Mm-hmm.
Aren't we like a Blackhawk podcast?
We've got some games.
We do.
have one win.
Hooray!
A lot of losses. As they said last night, they played a good 50 minutes. But I'm pretty sure I also said last year when we faced off against Winnipeg and we had another great game where we played a great 59 minutes. Guys, hockey is 60 minutes. So it was good until it wasn't at the very end. I don't think that final goal is really Spence's issue. You could see Winnipeg circling, I'd say, like a minute and a half prior to that, where, you kind of get the feeling in the back of your head, you're like, uh-oh. So I don't put that one on Spencer, but yeah, almost came out with a win in Winnipeg. We at least got a win in Utah, which is great, and it's great for the Bloom.
Yes. That was one of the few times that I saw a team play 60 minutes of uninterested hockey. And I do believe I heard that coach, management, and everybody lit into the Mammoth after that game, which needed to be done. Good. I mean, still a good, big, nice win for the boys, but that team had no desire to play. Do you want to go through games or just talk? I don't care. I'm pretty flexible today.
I mean, we've got the first game against Nashville, which I don't know about you. I really didn't know what to expect just because it was the first game back post break for both teams. It never feels good to lose to Nashville. I don't know what this team's inability to score on Annunen is. UC Saros, we can score just fine. Our kryptonite in the Central Division is scoring on Annunen. It was when he was in Colorado, and now it is when he's in Nashville. Yeah, did you have any thoughts on Nashville? I just didn't really go in with much expectation for that first game.
Well, I never go in with any expectation.
Yeah, you do.
That's been beaten out of me. For the most part, except for maybe Friday's game, because if that one's not delivered on, there should be hell to pay. That's a really bad team. It was the usual stuff. They find ways to lose. They had a lead in the third, and they find ways to lose. That's their identity now. They're a scared club who is unsure of themselves, and when people start to turn it on, they just don't know quite what to do. And that's a young team. That's a team that doesn't know how to win yet, and it's all correctable. That's all I saw from it. Yeah, that you can say rust, this or that, but everybody deals with that.
Because we're back on our normal shtick with this show. So I will go back to my normal mentality of, if it's correctable, why isn't anyone correcting it? Leadership.
It takes some time.
I've been hearing that since 2022.
Yeah, since
This
you,
is not, that's the thing. This is not new this year. You've had losing mentality since the beginning of the rebuild. At what point do you correct it?
yeah,
Or do you just provide us enough beer coupons that we don't notice that it needs to be corrected?
well, I have a feeling mid-season next year is when there might be pushback from the people in attendance at the game. But I don't know. I read a little quote about, that veteran leadership is very overrated. And they put it in a perfect way that, yes, veteran leadership is overrated. Winning veteran leadership is underrated.
Yeah.
And that's the difference on this team. You don't have anybody who comes with a pedigree of winning.
Right.
No one.
No, I believe the people that you had that had a pedigree of winning, they now are breaking records in a Dead Wings sweater, and they are getting clean face-off wins for the Winnipeg Jets.
And again, was that the right move, wrong move? Kyle has been very open about how he wants to handle these kids with kid gloves, and not. You can't put somebody who's been there and done that in front of them, because then it might stunt their leadership growth. I don't know his exact thought process, but he's been clear on that. But that's the difference in the rebuild now and what happened from the Dark Ages, is the people that were brought in from the Dark Ages had all won Stanley Cups. Your Langs, your players like that were all winners. So these were veteran leadership that knew how to win.
Yeah.
So
Your Bobby Boulin.
I thought that was unique when I read that from one of the people that I talked to. So, but let's go on to the next game. Have a Diet Coke.
Nice. Next game, Colorado. This one I think I had less expectation with, not because we're not winning games, but because I think even if we were playing 50% better, Colorado is still Colorado at the end of the day. I'm going to be honest, Krusty, I watched about half of this game. So what were your thoughts?
Oh my God, we really played pretty well. We were right there with them.
Until we weren't.
Until we weren't. It's the usual stuff. They're quite not good enough. Colorado's a really good team.
That's the thing that's frustrating, where it's like when you're competing against those really good teams, where it's like they could do their best, but their best is still light years behind a bad Colorado day.
Yes. Yeah, and again, it's another perfect. They find ways to lose. They just do. It's in their makeup. You're starting to get like newer people in the lineup. Artie's been freed.
Free Artie!
So
Son has been freed. He is free, and he is not the only one making mistakes. I need everyone to know that.
no, and if you bring that up, that's the one thing that really irks my whatever, or gets underneath my blah blah blah, or is the need for some reason we come out, we lose, and somebody needs to be blamed.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that from people, but anybody who watches this on a game in, game out basis that comes to that, I just don't understand. If you haven't looked at this whole product and said, it's a team effort, we're not watching the same game. Because it's a different person who's causing it. There's no one guy. They're all in it together.
They're all pulling from the same rope. It's
They're
just
all
a
pulling
bad
from the
rope.
same rope, just the wrong way. So,
We're going the wrong way.
It's going to be a rough little stretch, but the one good thing is they're not getting embarrassed, which is nice. Nobody likes to get embarrassed.
Aren't we?
No, we're not really getting embarrassed. We're just losers, but we're not embarrassed. They're
Um,
not. We're not down, getting sand kicked on us, and people urinating on us.
no, just people throwing drinks at us.
Yeah, I don't know what that was.
Oh, I'm convinced, guy. It was Batman.
Yes, yes. Since we did see Batman in Winnipeg, God,
Right. It has to be Batman.
I love the Batman. That was phenomenal.
Guys, there was a fully grown man dressed head to toe in Batman gear at the Winnipeg Jets game that we went to back in October. I was a little afraid. Krusty loved it.
Yeah, he grew on me and was just entertaining. This rather big bone bearded Batman just dancing.
Dancing.
It was entertaining. Um,
Um,
and then we had the Utah game.
Utah game, which was good. Shout out to Bloom.
Yes.
Fantastic game. Um, Shout out to Tavo. I think just across the board in this rough stretch, I think he has been doing pretty well. On top of the fact that he is the only one that did not get a break. Um, and he seems to be one of the better people, in my opinion, right now. So maybe breaks are bad for the boys. But I thought Bloom played great. I thought Tavo played great. I thought Gangrene had a good game. And to add to, I agree with your point earlier, the Mammoth just did not look interested.
Yeah, which is, it's one of those crazy hockey things that you go, okay, you're fighting for a playoff spot. How do you just become uninterested? And again, I wouldn't know. I've never competed at anything close to this level.
Right.
And other teams consider that it's a wake-up call game because you have given your coaching staff a whole bunch of fodder to sit there and poke and prod at you about your play. But yeah, it's always good to calm everybody down about the whole Bloom incident being just Bloom, and I thought he played well. I thought the defensive core for the most part played well.
What is going on with our defensive core is the real question.
What do you
Aside
mean?
from, we're young and we're figuring things out and we kind of have loser mentality coming from the top right now telling us that it's okay. But between it feels like there's like a little bit of a rotation slash I wouldn't be surprised if one of these three go by the end of the week. But between Sam, EDM, and Kevin, I don't know what's kind of going on right now.
What do
Because
you
you
need?
have
What do you need me to explain?
Well, because you bring up Kevin, and like Sam's playing, even though like Sam was hurt, but then Sam was fine. And then you bring up EDM for one game, make him fly out, and then you bench Kevin. I think I'm really just confused on what Katie's trying to do with Kevin.
He's trying to insulate him. He doesn't want a lot of film on him because
Because he's
he
going to trade
wants
him?
to move him.
Yeah.
So if you don't have a lot of bad film, you can sell the dream of an unbelievable, nice skating, puck moving defenseman. I still believe a little bit that he might get the go Friday night just because you're playing Vancouver. I think they'll pick and choose their times. When teams like that are completely out of it, that's the time to give them a start. Give it some good stuff to show before you move him. Your objective, I believe, with him is to up his value, and part of that is by not playing him.
Are you thinking that's an off-season move, or do you think that's a TD by Friday move?
I think that's an off-season move. I don't see anybody wanting him unless you're doing weird player-for-player moves like for Lafreniere,
What
a
is your love?
Shane Wright, a Ken Johnson. that kind of thing where you've got good forwards who
You
haven't
really just want Lafreniere.
who haven't played up to their potential. Yes, I do. Oh, if Kevin for Lafreniere and it's straight up, yes, I make that 100 out of 100 times. But again, that goes against sheltering this new group. That's another good player with a voice in the room, and I don't think we can have that. We can only have these voices. But we'll see. But yeah, I don't see that happening at the trade deadline.
Okay.
Again, unless teams decide they want to make the move to make the move. Kevin's still an intriguing piece.
Yeah.
I thought EDM last night looked good.
Yeah. Well, and because I like to bring up my favorite former Chicago Blackhawk prospect that Katie let walk. I'm a firm believer that just because a prospect isn't doing well in a current system doesn't mean that they are not a fit for the NHL. And so there may be a team where he can just slot in easier than in Chicago. And also, Chicago really hasn't had an interest in developing him whatsoever. I realize not everyone is going to be as good as my favorite kid, Dominic James, but I think he proves the point that, just because you're not signed by a bottom of the barrel team does not mean that you are not going to make it in the NHL.
Well, yeah, defensemen are different. I've gone on record of saying what I think core is, and
Right.
and that is, he's an Eric Gustafson. I think he would be nice as your 4 or 5 in giving you some offense. I am
Yeah.
unsure if he's a guy you would ever trust come playoff time with a lot of minutes. I just don't think so. Again, as I've always said, hopefully he proves me wrong. Most people do.
Yeah.
But I think that's the thing. I think they're going to pick and choose their spots when to play him.
Yeah.
But Rockford is a shit show, and they've shut it down. We've talked on this show how you wanted to start the winning culture down in Rockford and
Don't
have
have
it
any culture.
elevate up. That's obviously not Katie's plan. Katie's plan is just to elevate these kids, get them all there, and then when the rest of these draft picks come, then they can start to solidify Rockford for years because there won't be a spot at the big club. And
Wait,
that's
how long is that going to take?
You've got another 3 years before you start. Yeah, we're not close to over. I'm sorry. We're not close.
Is this when you're going to give me the favorite troll answer of clearly you don't know how to rebuild works?
No, I don't think anybody knows how a rebuild works. What good rebuild have you seen? Come on. It's a crapshoot. Detroit did it for 11 years. And now they'll finally make the playoffs. And do you consider them a cup team? Heck no. Right? No, they're not a cup team.
I don't know. Maybe it's because of my newfound love of Edvinston that I'm not going to say
but yes,
bad
he's a
things.
phenomenal player, and they have more in the pipeline. But that's what you're looking at, 10 years. We're at year 5. Right. It's just, I get the trolls, I get the meatheads who go, you just have to, this is how it works. It takes a really long
But I
time.
think
And that works
there's a
out.
line between accepting that it is a rebuild and accepting losing behavior.
Yeah, but I
You
think,
can be in a rebuild and
but
you
you're
can
just not
be in a
good enough
rebuild.
to beat people. So it just,
But
it
there's a
naturally
difference
comes.
between not being good enough to beat people just based on skill and just you don't care. Like it's not a goal in your head to win. And I'm not talking the players specifically because I do think it is in Connor Bedard's head and Frank and some of these younger guys. I don't think management cares.
Oh, well, that's a different story, yes.
I don't think management cares. This is not at the player level because I'm going to blanket give them the benefit of the doubt that a 20 something-year-old playing in the NHL does want to win. I'm saying at the management level, you don't care if we're good. You don't care if we win right now. And and not just because we're in a rebuild, but just because you don't care.
Well, there might be something really to that. I'm not going to say you're wrong there. As you know, I really struggled to call out players saying that they don't, because
Right.
I just,
We don't know.
there hasn't been many that I've really seen at the NHL level that I could come out and say didn't. I could probably
Right.
count on one hand, and I'm not going to bring them even up.
Right.
But it's just, I don't think it's in their makeup as far as management. Why would management care? The barn is full. There are lines stretching for blocks to buy merchandise. Why? What's the difference?
Yeah.
You know, again, brings us to there's got people like me who are going to show up all the time, and the people that I know that are really like, this all takes time, are the ones that they're not watching right now, anyways. So, yes, that's easier. It's only a moron like me that sits there and has this way too much invested life into this where it just churns at you and you're tired of it. And as I said, I believe we'll get to that point next year that it's either you're competitive or, I think you'll start to see things differently. But again, they do a great with the product of it's a good night out. Who cares?
I care.
I
care.
I get that.
You think I want to report on like constant losses both at the big club and the minor league club day in, day out? Absolutely not.
Remember that it's not just you and your show. You've got other people doing shows, and they've had to do the same thing all the time.
I know.
Yes, it's very difficult for everybody. So anybody who's doing anything like this, power to you. It's just not easy. Especially you gotta oversell that the future's gonna be so unbelievable. We might win 10 cups in a row. What else are you supposed to do? Again, there's hope coming.
Maybe.
There is. Frondell is coming. That's help. But
We
that's
don't know.
But that's still 2 years away before he becomes probably a
Anton
difference
Lindell.
maker. It won't be next year. Right.
Right.
And then it's what his level is, but I don't know.
We don't know. We don't know. But I just need to make it abundantly clear. When I say that some people don't care, I do not mean the players whatsoever. I am foghorn directly at management. I don't think that they
Yes,
care.
because I was ready to talk about that. Because I don't think they're wired that way. And I think at times you're just not good enough. And with not being good enough, there's a confidence level. And hockey's a difficult game where you have to understand that it's every shift matters. And to get into that takes some winning and takes a lot of other things. And
Yeah.
hopefully that's a journey for them.
Yeah. What a nice derailment we had.
Yes.
Well, we've got some games. We're back to a condensed schedule, kind of. A lot of games in March, some games in April. It's the final stretch. It's the final stretch of this season.
It's almost over.
Hopefully, we get to see some young faces, not because I like to listen to the fluff things, but just why not? I've been doing prospect reports about Sasha for the past couple of years. It'll be really cool to see him at the United Center. That's why I'm excited for some of these younger kids. I mean, that's why we do prospect reports, because it's at least fun for me to see the journey of when, I tell you about them on draft weekend, and then a couple of years later, we're talking about them with the big club during actual games. So hopefully we get to see some new faces during this stretch. It'll be fun. Krusty, do you have any final thoughts for this week's episode?
I'll give you a final thought, but we're not allowed to comment on the thought. Is that legal?
Are we commenting on it next week?
No. I'm just
No?
going to throw out the thought, more of a statement, and then we'll just leave it at that.
Love it.
Okay. Connor Bedard, I'm sorry for Friday night. Now let's end.
Absolutely. All right, folks, just as a reminder, make sure to hit that like and subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, YouTube, however you watch or listen to us ramble on a weekly basis. If you're going to a game this season, highly recommend Su Taqueria El Rey del Taco over on Ogden. Also, don't get up while the puck's in play. Please wait for
Please!
please. There will be a sign on in Friday at Section 330. So if you are going to this Friday's game, one, come and say hi, Section 330. We basically live there. And two, we will have the sign and I will be full chirp mode because I haven't been in the United Center for a month and I'm itching to chirp at some people. That is all, and we will talk at you guys next week.